The recap videos are going to be slightly different from next week. I want to give you some blah directly on how I've done. You can see where I'm up to in terms of seasonal results, which is just a compilation of how many I've won and lost sort of over, I start in October, so it's since October. First, let me say that I do three different sets of predictions. The first predictions I do is simply myself, so I will tally up how many right and wrong I get. And by the end of the year, or at least I do it from October to October, I can tell you how many I've won, how many of my predictions are correct and how many are not. I also do, in the same vein, how many overall events I've had more positive on than negative. So there's two different ones there. The second contest I'm in is on Matt Hughes Forum, and that's the Siggy contest there. It's quite tight in terms of we usually only have, I don't know, less than 20 people contributing to that, and I'm usually about average on there. Actually, this time I was well below average because my score of correct answers was only 5. The average was 8, and the winner scored 9. So there we are. The other predictions thing is only a 3-month stint, and this is on some paid site. I think it's called, what is it, Fenishells or something like that. Anyway, there's 110 people there in that, and we're all seeded according to how many predictions we get right and sort of wins and losses and stuff they use there. After this first event, I've been ranked 29th, which I'm actually very, very pleased with indeed. And now that happened because Fight Lockdown have paid for me to do that because it's a paid site and it runs in seasons, and the seasons I believe are 3 months in length. So I've got 3 months to see how well I can do there, which means obviously that I actually do take part in predictions on Fight Lockdown as well, and that's the Champions Pick'em League. And you're only put up against one other person in that unless they're doing a sort of Grand Prix, which I think was how I managed to get awarded the ability to move on to this Fencelli thing in the first place. Although I think I only made it to the semi-finals. I didn't actually get any. I didn't actually even get to the finals, let alone win. But there we are. And on that one, this time I was pitted against Viking Pride, who is, I think, the person who actually runs that particular predictions event from there, and I lost by 14 points, and I was actually staggeringly under. Again there I only got 100 points, and a lot of people there were scoring 170 odd, which is usually about where I am, so I don't feel that I did very well on this at all. In fact, it was 5-5-1, so it was a draw. I neither won nor lost this prediction event, so a poor showing for me on most places, apart from Fenishells or whatever it is, where I was ranked 29th. So maybe that will improve, because this was a bad showing from me. So I'm hoping to move up in the world. I'm not surprised at the result, but I'm a little bit surprised at how it got there. I'm talking about the match between Shane Roller and John Alessio. And the first round I thought was good, but then I found myself a little bit confused as to how come how come Shane Roller was basically always going for the RNC, and he had 2 attempts, and John Alessio wasn't actually sort of getting out of it, really, to be honest. I was a little bit surprised. I don't know if it was an off night for him or what.
and I know he looked like he was a bit frustrated as well. But I couldn't fathom that. I had thought that he wouldn't have any problem, particularly with Shane Roller on the ground, and well, he did. And although it was a unanimous decision, a victory for Roller, it brought up a few surprising questions for me. The second fight I want to talk about is the bum decision of the night. There's always one, and this time it was Nurmagomedov winning in a match that, to tell you the truth, wasn't that interesting, it had to be said. But I thought that Gleison Tibau should have won that one. Here's the thing, right? The takedowns were being tried by Nurmagomedov, all the way through. But the only person who was actually getting the takedown in terms of getting the guy to the ground was Gleison Tibau. So I'm not quite sure how they managed to score that the opposite way. In fact, Tibau had the opportunity, in my opinion, to stop the fight towards the end of the second round, but he let Khabib get up again. I think he might have done that in the third as well. I can't quite remember that, but I'm sure there was a big one in the end of the second when I was thinking, well, why aren't you now that you've basically knocked him onto the floor, why aren't you stopping it? Bizarre, very bizarre. And then there's Melvin Guillard and Fabricio Camões, and Fabricio Camões doesn't seem to be trying for submissions at all. He's too busy with spinning this and spinning that, and they're not particularly landing either. He does get a number of takedowns, but every time he gets the takedown, Melvin Guillard gets back up, and it always ends up, unfortunately, with Fabricio Camões on the ground, and Melvin Guillard just unlucky, running out of time, basically with ground and pound. I had thought about giving my Fighter of the Card award to Anderson Silva. The reason I'm not going to, it's all to do with the first round. He is a very dominant fighter, but he's dominant in being a counter-striker more than anything. That means that for a lot of the match, if it's on his feet, he won't be doing much, okay? And to me, that's only dominant in the sense that he'll get the victory. It's not dominant throughout the match. And that really shows when you get somebody who can take him down and put him on the ground, because then he's not dominant at all, and in fact he can be dominated. And the first round was much like the old fight when they first met. Chael Sonnen got him down to the ground and had his wicked way. Okay, there was no finishing with ground and pound or finishing with the submission, but he was completely dominated, and for that reason I'm not going to say, wow, he got his 10th consecutive title defence, particularly as in the second round it was probably going to go the same way, except Chael Sonnen made a big mistake, did something fancy, fell over, and it was Anderson Silva that capitalised. There have been question marks about the magic knee, but I'm not so bothered about that, to be totally honest. I would just say that, perhaps Chael Sonnen blew this one particularly out of the water. But I did say that I thought it would be some sort of stoppage. I think I did go for submission though, in the second round. So, well done to Anderson Silva, but not quite good enough to get my man of the card. Now that's going to go to Chad Mendes and his very quick dispatching of Cody McKenzie. Even if I felt Cody McKenzie was a long way beneath his, talent, it was quite nice to watch. It wasn't just hitting him in the face; it was also hitting him in the body. And yes, I think I'm going to give this one in a card stacked with decisions and a few bizarre results. And what I think is actually still a disappointing showing from Anderson Silva, to be totally honest. I'm going to give this Man of the Card award to Chad Mendes. Well done.